How much do you need in your portfolio so you can spend $6,000 a month if you want to retire early? That's what we're going to go over in today's video. I think this is something you guys, in fact, I don't think I know, you've been asking for some time. I do some case studies of what if you want to spend $20,000 a month? What if you want to spend $25,000 a month? What if you only need $4,000 a month? There's not a right or wrong. What I want you to do is understand how much you want to spend so you can live your dream retirement. And today you are seeing a real case study. I'm going to walk you through what it actually looks like for clients that want to retire early. I think this is going to reduce a ton of head trash for you. What does that mean? Well, it's a term that I like to use because a lot of people go, hey, I think I'm in a good spot to retire early, but what if markets don't do well? I think I'm in a good spot, but what if brackets change? I want to remove that head trash so when you do retire, you go, yep, I'm doing it with total confidence. I am the meanest early retirement advisor because I don't want anyone to retire too early. At the same time, there's a risk of you continuing to work, not financially. Your plan will look great financially, but the risk is you look back and you go, hey, why didn't I retire earlier if I was in a fine spot to do so, if I knew I wasn't going to run out of money? So if you're looking for more guidance on investing, tax strategy, withdrawal, healthcare, you're in the right spot. It's what I love to do, and I invite you to subscribe. Let's hop into the case study for today. This is a couple that wants to retire early. They really want specific guidance, and this conversation really was impactful for them. So I want to relay what I discussed with them to all of you so you can see how this compares to your retirement. Now, my name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the vice president here at Root. And I'm obsessed with this stuff to an unhealthy degree, which I'm okay with. So let's look at the case study for today. This is a couple, Harold and Casey. I changed their names for security purposes. So I often will say Harold or Casey, or I'll do John and Jane. I try to keep it fun. And you can see they're 55 and 53 years old. So this is the couple that we're going to go through. Quick side note, this is the sweet spot of people that reach out. They're in their early 50s, late 50s, early 60s going, I want to retire early. I want to make sure I'm doing all the right things. I know a lot of you are watching this in your late 30s, early 40s going, hey, I want to get a step ahead of the game. What do I need to do to retire early? I try to make this stuff as helpful as I can. So let's hop right back to the case study. We had a long conversation about their financial goals and what they wanted most out of life. And you can see here when we discussed that, they said they want to retire at 63 and 61. It wasn't perfect. I said, hey, are you miserable at your jobs? They go, no, this is what we're thinking. We don't know exactly what we want to do. We've got some time. I go, hey, how much do you really need so you can do everything you want in retirement? They said, we went through the expenses. $4,000 if we didn't have a mortgage would allow us to do everything we want to do. Hey, does that include travel? They go, no, travel's separate, but outside of travel and healthcare, that really does cover the basics. I go, what if I made you spend $8,000 a month? They go, it would be nice to know, but to be honest, we're telling you, Ari, this is what we need. We're not, extravagant people. If you told us we'd have this amount that we could spend, we'd be very happy. So for those that aren't sure how much they want to spend, I have a cash flow planner. You can access that in the description of today's episode, but you can also see it right here. This is really helpful. It's really sexy and fun to talk about investing and tax strategy, and I have God knows how many videos on that. But I will also want to make sure that you don't overlook the easy stuff, which really has a big role, which is how much do you want to spend so you are happy in retirement. So be sure to check that out. And you can download that for free. I don't put a paywall behind that. I want you guys to have free resources so you guys can go ahead and live your dream retirement, be confident about it. So you can see here, this is what they shared with me. This is what they were thinking. In terms of assets, what are they working with? They've got $20,000 in just checking account. They have $270,000 in savings, getting a high yield savings account. Right now, Harold has a Roth IRA with about $400,000. Casey has a Roth IRA with $100,000 plus and a rollover IRA. So they're working with about $1 million, which for some of you, you go, hey, that's kind of right in alignment with where I'm at. Some of you go, hey, I'm working towards that. Some of you go, hey, I've got $5-10 million. This isn't applicable to me. So want to make sure I'm making these videos for everyone. You can see here that they do have their home, but there's a mortgage on that. This is their monthly payment. And so they're going, hey, should we pay that off before we retire? And a lot of those conversations come in the following. So I'm going to show you guys this. These were the goals I just shared with you. This is what they're looking at. The way I like to do it is I like to take a big step back and I like to show them, hey guys, where are you at right now based on what you shared with me? And I put some assumptions in here and I tell them to them. So I say, hey guys, if you guys wanted to retire 63 and 61, once again, a reminder for all of you, how old are they? They're 55 and 53. So we've got some time here. But if they wanted to retire, call it 8+ years, for Harold, I said, hey guys, here's what you're on track for. based on your current assets and just kind of moderate growth throughout retirement, you're not trying to outguess the market, do anything crazy here. If you're just getting good return, you can see there's no reason that you guys aren't going to be able to make that happen. They're like, oh, really good to see. We're in a good spot. We're going to be able to retire. I said, you're right. Like what you guys just, so for all of you who haven't seen my other videos that go along with this tool, the blue, this is their current, meaning what are they on track for right now? So you can see here we are, they've got $1.4 million. They're on track right now to retire with, $3.6 million. What I'm doing is I'm taking it a step further and I'm having some fun here. So I'm going to show you what if they relocate, what if they do some cool stuff in the future, what if they retire earlier. I want to have some fun. So I almost had it on there as a surprise to show you guys, hey, what if we start to tweak some stuff? So for them, I said, hey guys, what if you guys went and bought a Porsche? And they told me in one meeting that they wanted to buy it. They didn't know when, but I said, hey guys, what if you bought a Porsche? Not right now, but you can see here, I could show them doing it right now. I could show them doing it in 2030. This is a tool. It's got some really cool features. I want my clients to live their best life. I just want them to be intentional about doing it. And you can see if they're invested well and they're doing all the right things, like, yeah, there's going to be fewer dollars, but it's going to barely make a difference if they buy that Porsche. So sometimes I'll show clients, hey, I want you to do it. Does it make a big impact? Other times I go, hey, if you guys wanted to spend, and this couple told me, if they spent $25,000 a year for the first 15 years of retirement, every single year, they're on track to do that. But if they said they wanted to spend $50,000 a year instead of $25,000, I'm the meanest early retirement advisor for a reason. I don't want you to retire too early and run the risk of running out of money. So all of a sudden, they'd have way less money. They'd still be okay, but they'd have way less. So the point here is these were the specific goals. I think this is in alignment with a lot of you going, hey, $4,000 a month, that lets us meet our expenses. Yep, we've got a mortgage, but we also want to travel. So what I'll ask them is I'll take a big pause and I'll say, hey, you've got trade-offs. And that's the key to understand when it comes to retirement. Some people say, Ari, I want to retire yesterday. I don't care how much I can spend in retirement. Get me out of this job. Maybe I'll find something that pays less, but I want out. Please help. I'll say, great. Here's what's going to happen. If you want to retire right away, here's the most you can spend. And they go, well, it doesn't really let me spend what I want to spend. I go, that's true. But you shared with me that the most important thing is that you're out of that job. Even if it means you can't travel to the degree that you want, you're cool with it. Other people go, I don't love what I do, or I really do love what I do, but I want to know the earliest time that I can spend the money that I want to spend without running the risk of running out and not working unnecessarily, but I don't want to ever run the risk of going back to work. I said, great. That was more of this couple here. So hopping back in here, I showed them, what if they retired at 60 and 58? Meaning they're still spending everything that they want to spend, but 60 and 58, that's when they're now retiring. And what you can see is there's certainly fewer dollars. There's 2 million fewer dollars, but they were on track for 3.6 million. Now they're on track for 1.5 million. Well, they don't have children. And they told me they had very specific goals, which is they didn't want to try to die with $5 million. And really quickly, they start to go, wait a second. Okay. So yes, there's a lot less money, but we're still okay. And we're retiring way earlier. Okay. This is intriguing here. We put some assumptions in here for healthcare expenses. These are going to vary tremendously. I said, what if it was $5,000 a year each? The truth is, it could be very low if you're intentional with healthcare and thinking through that. And I actually have an ebook where I go through this and other videos in more detail, so you can see that ebook here. But I want you guys to make sure that you're not kind of putting $25,000, $30,000 a year in here. It could be that. Let me be clear. I've seen people pay north of $25,000 a year for healthcare. Sometimes it's only for a short period of time, but I've seen that until Medicare kicks in. So you want to be really intentional and make sure you're going through good planning to determine that. So they came to me and they were like, hey, just for fun, like, what if we stopped working now? Like, could we make that happen? And once again, meanest early retirement advisor here. I turn this on and I say, hey, like, no, you couldn't. And they go, yeah, we know we didn't want it, but like, good to know. And they wanted to really start to play and go, okay, when are we in that spot? When are we in that spot if we wanted to not quote unquote, like die with the, put our last check in, but like somewhat close. And they started to see, okay, this is cutting it a little too close for comfort. Let me be also quick disclosure here. I wouldn't let anyone retire if a graph looked like this. I barely let someone retire if a graph looks like this. And you're like, why not? You're the meanest person ever. I go, this assumes markets just keep going up and up and up. What if they don't? What if markets take a big downturn? And when they do, are you prepared to implement good tax strategy? So this is the graph that 90% of people retire on. I wouldn't let one person retire on this graph. I'll show you in a second what I let people retire on. if they want my green light, which they do certainly do not need. It is your money, but that's why people are coming to me. So you can see here, if we just put this back, they're in a really good spot. What we then want to do is say, well, what if, for example, they were like, hey, we're open to investing really aggressively. Well, if you refresh this, all of a sudden, you can see the opposite's now happening. Well, now they retire in their early 60s. They're paying for healthcare, but they're still on track to die with $6 million. So some people go, hey, I'm open to investing really well. And if I can invest really well and retire earlier, I want to know how that impacts my plan. And so you'll get to play around with this tool and go, wow, this is really cool. This is showing me, yeah, if I invest aggressively, I'm still passing away with $1 million and I can retire way earlier. Oh my gosh, maybe I find something. It pays way less, but I enjoy it more. You can go in here and add in vacations and weddings and, what if we part-time income and inheritance and all these other factors that play a big role. What I want to do, because I'm asked this question often, is, hey, what if we were to, and I'll do this with you guys so you can see what I mean. What if we were to relocate? It doesn't have to be perfect, and too many people try to make this perfect and then all of a sudden just never feel confident. So what I'll say is just relocate. Don't know where they want to go. Let's assume that they bought something for, I don't know, $2 million. Could be in California. That's where I'm located. Could be in Nevada. Let's just pick Nevada. Don't know what it's going to appreciate at. Let's just put property taxes at 1%. Insurance is generally less than that. And we're just going to say that they're going to sell their current home immediately, take the equity, go put it into another property. Well, if they were to do that, meaning they're not doing, they're not getting a mortgage, nothing like that, and they were to do it right away, and we go ahead and save that, what you're going to see, look down here. So it's going to see relocate. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, they're not in a spot to do that. Like if they want to do that and retire early, like absolutely not. They couldn't buy that much of a home. They're not in a spot to do that, even if they're invested aggressively. My job's not to be Mr. Meanie. My job's to say, hey, guys, I want you to do what you want to do. I just want you to do it like when you're in a good spot. So what if they bought something for $1 million instead? And so we'll resave that and go, okay, are they in a spot to do something like that? And then we start to play around and go, wow, not only are they in a good spot to do that, they're in a really good spot to do that. And let's assume that they go, you know what, we don't want to invest aggressively. That's not for us. We'd rather be more conservative. Well, if you're conservative and they took the equity of their home and they reinvested it, even if they were really conservative, they're in a good spot. And so if we go back, if you recall, right now, this is the home they're in. They might not need that level of home. Might be too big for them. They might go, you know what? It's a $1.8 million home. We've got this mortgage. We'd love to get rid of it. One less expense in retirement. You can start to play around with this in a really cool way. And to me, this is just the beginning. What about part-time income? What about inheritance? What about helping out kids with cars or vacations or weddings? And so I mentioned earlier, this is the graph I wouldn't let anyone retire on. The reason is it's not designed for an early retirement. This is designed for traditional retire at 65, die at 95. It's not realistic. I prefer this withdrawal rate graph where it goes into a lot more detail and it lets you go, wow, my withdrawal rate, and I have a lot of episodes talking about withdrawal rates, but if you're implementing all the strategies the right way, you're being really intentional, there's no reason that if this was below 5%, I would have concerns if you're doing all the right things. And what you can see is they're below 5%. They're in a good spot, but then all of a sudden you can see here, it starts to rise again, but then all of a sudden, wait a second, Social Security's turned on. Now they're probably spending less. Oh, wait a second, travel dropped off. And so this is a really telling graph because if they wanted to travel to this extent, but for 20, 30 years. Or if they said, you know what, we thought we wanted to spend, $4,000 a month in retirement. We're just so wrong. We miscalculated. We need $6,000 a month in retirement. Well, if that was the case, we refresh this. Yeah, it shows they're below 6%, which is not a nice sight, I'll admit. This confirms that they're nowhere in a spot to retire, even if they retired at 63. So you can see their expenses. By me tweaking this just a little bit, it plays some big factors here. Now, this is assuming we're invested conservatively. All of these factors need to connect with one another so that you can understand, okay, am I in a good spot? Am I not? So today, it's mainly on just, hey, how much do you need? And hopefully that you can see if they had even $1 million and they took their Social Security, and we're being very conservative with Social Security, saying they collected at full retirement age, so 67. If they had $1 million and they wanted to spend $4,000 a month plus spend extra on travel and fun and healthcare expenses, and they said, you know what, we're just invested moderately, we still want to retire early, they're in a spot to do it. They are absolutely in a spot to make this happen. Depends if you have specific legacy goals, but even with $1 million, when Social Security gets turned on, maybe there aren't children. If there are children, let's certainly add in other expenses. This is not including college funding. This is not including a bunch of stuff, but this is how you can start to think through this without going through kind of the additional weeds, if you will. So hopefully this video was helpful. I know it was a lot, and I've done previous case studies. So if you're watching this going, hey, that's great, but I want to spend way more than this. Like, this will not cover my retirement. See this case study here, where I actually went through a more in-depth example. If you're watching this going, hey, I need a custom strategy. This is absolutely what I'm looking for. I have an advisor, or they're just not giving me the guidance I was looking for, or I don't have an advisor, I'm considering to hire one. I want someone that does holistic planning though. I don't want them to just tell me what stock to buy. I want them to help me with tax strategy, withdrawal, healthcare. That's what we do. We specifically work with people that want to retire early. They want a holistic strategy, and I invite you to apply to work with us. We have a wait list at the moment, but you can go ahead and apply and see our soonest availability. I'm the one that has that conversation personally with everyone that reaches out. So hopefully this video was helpful. You didn't fall asleep. And if this was, I invite you to like this and subscribe for more content like this. Love you guys.